Hello and welcome to AutoSave. My name is Nick Andrade and I'm here with my co-host Camille Salazar-Hadaway. And on today's episode, we take a look at Chapter 2 of God of War Ragnarok. Cam, I'm very proud of myself. Do you want to know why?
Sure.
Because I went through the entire episode 1 without saying Thor Ragnarok.
Oh.
I've been prepping this for weeks now before we even recorded the show to stop saying Thor Ragnarok. It is God of War Ragnarok. I might jinx myself in this episode for saying it right now out loud, but I'll take that chance.
I feel like you did jinx yourself. Like I saw your look at me like, oh, maybe I am going to say that. And I think you will. If you do, maybe you should like buy me a donut or something.
Is that our wager?
Yeah, a donut.
What's your favorite donut?
Ooh, apple fritter.
Oh my goodness. We were just talking about dentures off camera. That is a peak old lady donut, 1000%.
Hey, look, I like consistency. It's always consistent, always soft. You have little apple bits in it, a little sprinkle of cinnamon if you're feeling for fun, like a little spice of fun. How about you? What's your favorite donut? I feel insulted.
I shouldn't talk because I'm literally playing Jane, and if I see either a honey dip or like a cinnamon dip, something like that, I'll do it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, vanilla ice cream, honey dip donut, plain cake with whipped cream, like give me that.
Do you say honey dip because you don't want to say old fashioned because of the
no,
old
I hate
connotations
old. No, I hate old fashioned. Like there's old fashioned, but then there's honey dip. Like I don't like a honey cruller or like an old fashioned plain. That's gross. I like a honey dip.
But what about a whole old-fashioned glazed? They do that.
No, I don't like that. That's too old-fashioned. Honey dip adds a little spice to your life.
All right, we'll agree.
You know who doesn't eat donuts, though? Kratos, because look at his body. He is jacked. That is my transition, by the way, because on last week's episode, we went through an action-packed first chapter of the game.
I see why my sons fell to you. Even this lesser version of you. But I am not my sons. And your boy, Allfather, have plans for him. There he is. There's the god of war. Consider your blood debt paid. Be seeing you.
Oh, God. Thor is on some next level-ish right now.
He loves donuts.
That's someone.
Thor
yeah, that is someone who loves donuts. 100%. Well, so basically, as you heard in that cutscene, Thor and Kratos went head-to-head as Odin tried to make a deal with us, which was really strange. I didn't expect Odin to just come in to our house and make a deal right there. It was very strange, but Kratos obviously declined, and then Thor wanted a blood debt from him for killing his sons Magni and Modi, which they duked it out, but it wasn't like a fight to the death, Cam. It was like Thor just wanted to see and test Kratos' power.
I was really questioning, like through God of War 2018, we really were questioning Kratos' ability as a father, even though we're not parents ourselves. Very judgmental here on AutoSave. But this was a moment for me where I'm like, is Thor a good father? Because he does not seem like he's fighting for revenge for Kratos killing his sons. He just seems he's just enjoying this. And he's kind of like, Magni and Modi, who? Wait, who are they? He completely forgot about his sons.
I mean, everything that we've learned about Thor from 2018 God of War and all the stories that Mimir has talked about, 1000%. He's a horrible dad, and he's just a horrible human in general. Well, not human god, I would say, but he basically kills everyone and doesn't care about his family.
Yeah, I feel like in order to be a god, they have this checklist they have to make. They're like, horrible person? Yep. You know what? We're going to bump you up to godhood.
That's how it goes. If you're horrible, you just turn into a god and then make it worse. He also, I guess, talked to Atreus while they were gone fighting, struck him a deal to go to Asgard, but Atreus is kind of not really telling us what the deal is. And again, I think this is going to be a theme here where we're going to have a lot of teenage angst where Atreus might be like keeping things from Kratos, which probably is not a good thing considering the prophecy that we saw in God of War 2018 of Kratos, I guess, dying
at the hands of Atreus. So yeah, and this is the thing. I don't understand what in Odin's green world would make Atreus hide this from Kratos. Like, Odin, it's pretty obvious that Odin and Thor do not care about Atreus because they're trying to kill him and Kratos the whole first game. So I don't understand what would make, like, even if you were so curious about you being a god, this is the guy who killed all the giants, or supposedly killed all the giants, your people, and then tried to kill you. So why would you hide anything when it comes to this guy from even Mimir? Mimir, who you talk to regularly. Yeah. Mimir doesn't even know what's going on because you hid the conversation from him. Atreus gets one annoying point already.
Well, I mean, the main answer is just a dumb kid. That's basically what it is. He's not smart yet.
Yeah, we were all dumb kids.
Yes, he's got to go through life lessons, which I'm sure he'll learn in this game. We also saw some little flashback dream sequence with Faye, but Faye actually told Kratos something, so, there's some mystery shrouded around that. But Atreus, he is obsessed right now with Tyr, and he thinks Tyr is still alive, and he wants to go rescue him. So he thinks that he might be in the mines of Svartalfheim, and that's where Brock and Sindri came in at the end of last episode. And they're going to take us to the dwarven realm in chapter 2 to seek out Durlin and look for clues about Tyr. So, Cam, are you excited about jumping into our first new realm that we have not seen?
I mean, I am. As soon as they mentioned the dwarves, we haven't, I'm very excited. If they have just an ounce of humor like Brock and Sindri, it's going to be a good time, right? It's going to be a party. But it doesn't seem like they do once we get into it. But I mean, we're seeing the game surprised us with the opening on how much it revealed. Because I think coming out of 2018, we thought, okay, once you get into Ragnarok, you're going to be playing the game and maybe just a little bit before midway of the game, you're going to see Thor or Odin. You're going to have that big moment. But the game's already like, no, this is how we're going to stand out from God of War Ragnarok. We're continuing the story. We're going to continue to surprise you with showing you who you want to see up front and now taking you to new worlds so you know what to expect for the rest of the game. I just hope that it doesn't disappoint and that they could keep surprising us with new reveals.
Just based on chapter 1, I don't think this game is going to disappoint us, but that is just my own prophecy for this game. So let's see if it tunes out. Question of the day, Cam. We talked last week about best games/movie sequels. How about this time, sequels to a game that you wish happened that never did? Number 1 for me, Simpsons Hit and Run on the PS2. One of the best games I ever played as a child. And looking back at it, incredible for a Simpsons game. I wish they either remade it or did a sequel to it on the next gen. There's been rumblings about it because a lot of people have remade it themselves with Unreal Engines, which is pretty cool. I would love to see that. Do you have any that you can think of off the top of your head?
You know what? I really wanted, and this is like such a Camille answer, I want a sequel to Ocarina of Time. Don't say, yeah, but Majora's Mask is that? No, it's an alternate timeline. I just want more. And yes, you could argue that all the games are kind of sequels because they're different time. No, I want a direct sequel to Ocarina of Time. I don't know what the enemy will be. I don't know what would happen because they sealed away Ganon. But I just want to live in that world again and have some exciting new adventures in it. I will also add Beyond Good and Evil. This was a game I played, like one of my first Ubisoft games I played as a kid. And I loved it, playing as Jade, taking pictures, and like there's a whole backstory of a corrupt government or corporation that is governing over these different worlds and hiding orphans. It was really serious, but also looked really cool as well. And I want a successful sequel to Star Fox. I really want a successful sequel to that game. Star Fox Zero wasn't it for me. I want a really good Star Fox game.
Was there ever a Zelda sequel to one of the games? Because I know there's a bunch of Zelda games, and again, but they always take place in different timelines. Was there any sequels to direct games?
No, you could, that's what I'm saying. You could argue that they're kind of sequels in a sense because they are retellings or diving into different attributes of the timeline, but no, there's no sequels.
Except for the new one?
Yes, Breath of the Wild, Tears will be a sequel.
Okay, so that might be the first one.
There's a first for everything. Yeah, but they should have just went back and done Ocarina of Time. I'd be happy with that.
And I have to mention, too, Half-Life 3. I was obsessed with Half-Life 2, Episode 1 and 2. I was a big Counter-Strike player as well, so when I first dived into that, I'm like, wow, this is probably the best FPS I've ever seen. And we all wanted to know what happened to Gordon and his story, but we never got that. And Valve, please, if you're listening, please do it. It would make so much money.
Make it happen. Make it happen.
But yeah, that, and then I put down as well L.A. Noire. I thought was a fun game to play.
Good.
And it had like so many iterations. I think it came out on the Switch recently as well. So, but whatever.
Yeah.
You know,
it's never end. It's that game that would never end. It was like L.A. Noire, you know, again on another console on the DS. It's like, whoa, how'd they get that there? Like, it was just always popping up. But it is a good game.
Sounds like GTA 5. But that's it for the first segment of the show. After the break, it's off to Svartalfheim, and let's see this new realm that everyone's been talking about.
Whoa, do you feel that?
What's that, lad?
Anything, everything. It's warm.
So we enter Svartalfheim for the first time, and it's warm. It's not Fimbulwinter in Midgard. It's definitely visually different. And for me, it kind of took me out a little bit of the Norse mythology. I felt like we were in Greece. But they do explain it. They do say that each realm's different, and Fimbulwinter or Ragnarök or the bringing of Fimbulwinter kind of makes every realm different. Maybe some is hotter than normal. Maybe some have more desert or something like that. And this one, for example, I think it has a lot of like gas fumes in Svartalfheim. But what are your initial thoughts on this realm? Because I was taken aback by the way it looked.
I was pleasantly surprised. One of the worst things you could have is when a game's like, oh, we're going to New World, but it looks exactly like all the other worlds in the game. And you're like, did we need this? We didn't need this. I like how it's a warmer climate. I thought a cool little detail would have been if we saw the characters react to it. So like if maybe like Kratos like takes off a piece of armor or something like that because it's like hot. Or maybe I just want Kratos to take off a piece of armor.
Side note for you, like I generally like when Kratos is wearing the full armor. So I always buy armor that's full armor.
Oh,
so I don't like seeing
really?
I don't like seeing the little patch armband or like shoulder pad.
Okay, I guess the armband is weird. Now that I look at it, why did you have to point this out for me? I never noticed it before because I do like that classic Kratos look, so I don't armor up all the way. I'm more focused on upgrading the weapons and like a little bit of the armor, which does make me die a lot, which we'll talk about. But I like the classic Kratos look. I don't know, there's just something about it.
I just don't like seeing his nipples. That's it.
What?
I don't know what it is.
I'm not looking at that. Why are you looking at that? Oh my god!
It's right there in front of me on a 57-inch screen that I'm playing it on.
But his band covers it.
Maybe I'm just like envious of his incredible body. Probably that's what it is. So I want to cover it up. So we have to journey to Niðavellir by boat. That's basically, I guess, the dwarven city. But first, we have to get through the Arvange wetlands. If I said it properly, I don't know if I did. But this gives us kind of like a crash course on all the new enemies that we're going to be seeing in the realm, but also in the game. Cam, what do you think about these enemies? Because I'll tell you right now, these ones are super annoying. There's the Grim that shoots poison, and then the Wretches that are explode. Those little tiny things are probably when I saw them at first, I'm just like, if this is throughout the game, I'm going to be incredibly annoyed.
I don't think I realized they explode. They explode when they get close to you? I don't think I've had them get that close to me.
Some of them do. Some of them do.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
They don't bother me as much as obviously they bother you. You may want to book some time with your therapist to talk about the wrenches. I do not. The spitting of the poison, because they're up on walls. Those guys really, really irritate me.
Yeah.
Like, really irritate me, because when you're fighting, you'll see like the little arrows saying like, okay, an enemy is going to attack, like those warnings.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I'm looking to the right, looking behind me. I'm like, where is this guy? Because I forget the verticality like of those enemies. So I have to like look up and I'm like, oh my gosh, he's on this wall up top. Okay, let me grab the blades of chaos and pull him down here and deal with him. And then another one pops up and I'm like, I am getting poisoned left, right, and center. This is annoying.
I think I died a few times at the start here. There was quite a few enemies. And this is where, again, like I was like, the skill level here must be definitely tougher because they're giving me way harder time. I think I was like around 25% health at all times half the time. So I was just like, I'm like, what is going on? Like, I need some more in your chest here so I can get some more health.
After you beat the enemies and then you're just like, oh, they're just dropping hack silver everywhere. I need health.
Yeah, we need help. We need some more chests, some more HP help because, I don't know, I'm having a tough time. As we boat around, we learn about how Kratos, with Faye, because, Trace keeps asking questions and Kratos keeps saying, well, I don't know because Faye didn't tell me anything. And you can tell he's visibly frustrated with how much she kept from him. But that's kind of the same. And, Kratos is always like, you need to be honest, Atreus. Faye, I wish you were more honest with me. But he keeps a lot of secrets to himself as well, doesn't he?
Yeah. And I think what it is, it's like Faye had a reason to hide all this. And it might have been the fact that all of her people died. So maybe she didn't want everyone to know that she was a giant. And so it is, I guess, really Kratos is getting a taste of his own medicine. Because if it was the other way around and say one of the gods of Olympus survived and came for Kratos and his family, but Kratos died of some sickness, like I could totally understand why Faye would be complaining because she didn't know everything about Kratos as well.
The area is really good, I think, to get your bearings as well. The first chapter really wanted to bring the excitement, right? And the start of the chapter really wanted to kind of like show you like, this is what's going to happen in this game. And now in chapter 2, Svartalfheim is just like, now you can start figuring out how to attack properly. If you never played the game before, you can start to learn the controls a little bit, right? It gives you a breath of fresh air, something I think you needed after that insane first chapter.
Yeah, it was actually nice to firstly be around water, but not be bombarded by just action and get acquainted more with the environment around you.
Something that I really enjoyed in this, and it's such a small, minor thing, but when you're on the boat, now you can kind of slide under small objects as Kratos and Atreus kind of like bend down for it. And I love that aspect of it. I don't know why.
Same here. It was just so cool. Yeah, that really stood out to me because, and I think it's how Kratos does it, because you see Atreus like kind of, he doesn't really have to bend down, like his head down too much, and Kratos pushes the boat, but then Kratos just goes into like vampire mode and drops in the boat and then slides like completely under, and I'm like, this is the coolest animation ever. I think I did that like maybe when I first saw it, like back to back when I could, just to see the animation.
Yeah, it's so cool. I just like, I'm
really
like,
cool.
Oh, now we can tell like, they really put some extra effort into this game, but it's just small, minor detail, but it's really cool. After adventuring around for a while, you can move around and kind of move freely if you want and don't have to see everything directly in front of you in terms of the main mission. But once you do, we get our first blocked path that we get stuck on. And this is a puzzle time, Cam. And it's a new puzzle that we haven't seen before, where we basically have to freeze some of the water with our frost axe. I really like this kind of thing. It was almost like move valves, or I think certain like water wheels as well.
Yeah.
And you're trying to get through and you need to freeze this water in order to get through, or you can jump across then once you freeze the water. Do you like this new puzzle tactic?
Yeah, I think it's like how they use Leviathan and that frost ability into how you have to traverse and go about the game. It is too sometimes very challenging to figure out, wait, where am I freezing this water? When do I have to release? Because I don't know if you found this. I found that when I throw my axe, like hold down triangle to throw the axe to freeze, I would try to switch to the Blades of Chaos, but then accidentally recall Leviathan. So then it'll melt what it just froze, and then I'm trying again. And that was like a little bit of a growing pain where I had to get into the habit of actually pressing the right directional and not just trying to do the quick switch between the two weapons.
Throughout this game, for me, I don't think I'll ever get used to it in terms of like switching weapons on the D-pad. Every time I got to switch from the Chaos Blades to the Leviathan Axe, I forget what buttons they are. So I'm constantly just like recalling the axe or like moving the blades, and I actually just want to attack, but I'm just constantly switching it by accident. So that's a learning curve that I have trouble with, like just playing the game outright. It doesn't change for me. And I guess I'm just an old man who can't figure it out, but whatever.
You're not
Still
alone.
having fun.
You're not alone.
After the puzzles, we find out that Atreus is he's a little too obsessed with Tyr. He wants to know more about who he is as Loki. So I think the reason why he wants to locate Tyr is so that he can get more answers about who he is. But after some more boating, we finally find the town of Niðavellir.
Atreus, look ahead.
Wow. Now this looks like a city.
Welcome to Niðavellir, brothers.
Hey, dwarves! Oh. They're, running away.
An alarm.
I'd only sound an alarm like that if I still had my body and was fearing the notion of being detached from it.
Wild that for us, though.
They are scared.
Most definitely an alarm, I'm afraid.
Why is everybody hiding?
Stay alert.
So the dwarves are afraid of us. The alarms, they're sounding. The people are going into their homes. My guess is that they don't want to, upset Odin. So they're making sure to hide themselves away from Kratos and Atreus and Mimir because they fear the wrath of Odin. The horn's really cool, but just wanted to get your thoughts on, like, why do you think that these dwarves are hiding? Because that was my initial thought.
Despite our jokes about Odin being from New York, obviously he is menacing, right? Like, we've seen the power that he has in the first game. So, and we see, like, he really manipulates different groups and uses them for his own intentions. So I don't know, like, at this point, I didn't really put too much thought into that because I think I'm so excited to see the dwarves. And, like, when you're actually going in on the boat and you're starting to see them offshore and, like, they're working and stuff like that, like, this is the best thing ever. This is like Snow White, but God of War. I am down for it. And then they get a glimpse of you and they just start running off. I was like,
Yeah.
that's weird. I just saw it as like, oh, there's probably like that because I believe it was Sindri or maybe it was Brock. They mentioned, I forgot his name, but the one dwarf that we have to see. Durlin, thank you. That we have to see in order to get more information. So I just thought it was kind of like the means of like, oh, we're just going to have to find Durlin first and then they'll come out and like start talking to us and stuff. But when Mimir is giving us more information, I know that like based off of Tyr potentially being imprisoned and potentially having that prison here, that would probably be the reason why they don't want to talk to us, right? Because they may know the secret of where Tyr is.
Something I thought of as well is, at this point now, Kratos and Atreus, they probably have a reputation around the realms. People know who they are, I'm guessing, especially if they're god killers. And they've killed a few gods. They've killed Baldur, Magni, and Modi. I'm sure that word has got around that they are not to be messed with. So that could also be the reason why. Once we land, however, we see a familiar face greeting us.
Oh, you are long overdue for a replacement. Taking advantage of certain material. Ow. Structural sensitivity to sonic vibrations has been something I've been meaning to try for quite some time now.
Thanks for, finally trying it. What's it gonna be this time?
patience. I find it's best to see these things, in action. Whew.
So Sindri fixes Atreus' bow for a new ability, sonic arrows that use vibrations to destroy surrounding objects with a green glow. I think that's pretty cool. The ability is something that adds to Atreus' arsenal, because I think he's sometimes lacking a bit, but something new is always good to see.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like as well with this one, I like how they're just integrating Atreus more. I think that's one thing that the first game could have done a better job of, is like really needing Atreus for certain aspects. So I like this ability. And you already see areas that need to be opened up or like can be discovered, because they have that like glowing emerald. Well, it's not an emerald green, like that murky green type of color as this ability.
Once we go through some of the city, we enter a door looking for Durlin, only to find this guy named Rabe, who doesn't seem alarmed by us. It's pretty funny. He's playing I guess like some sort of musical instrument, and he's like, well, whatever, just don't tell anybody that I talked to you, and we're fine. But he tells us he tells us to walk through the next door over to the river, and that's where we finally unlock our map and compass. Took long enough because I kept going to the main screen and everything was cloudy, and it's nice to know that I can see where the hell I'm going.
You know what? I felt like it was very straightforward up to this point, Nick. So I don't know why you felt the need to have.
Because I want to
map
search
and compass.
things. I want to find
You
other
wanna
things
see.
around.
You want to see, but that'd take away from the exploring the little tiny mini islands on your way here. So, but yes, it is helpful to have a map and compass, Nick, I guess.
Because once it unlocked, I don't know if you saw, but there were a couple blue markers there for side quests that you could do.
I did not do those.
Yes.
Dang it, I thought this game would be different for me in side quests. I did not do those. Wow.
But those were like, I like to see like, okay, there's ravens that we have to get to. There's some chests. So I enjoyed, like, I kind of searched around before I went back to the main scenario to just see what was going on. I don't think there was much you could do, but there was a little few things you could do and fight some more enemies. So that's what I did. But I know that you went straight to Durlin's office.
Here to collect on something, pal? Think parading a severed head around on your hip is gonna scare me into somehow approving Estrid's accretion proposal, eh?
We are looking for a prisoner of Odin's.
He's being kept in a mine somewhere. Some friends of ours said that you could help.
Where did you get... You chop her head off with that too, eh?
She was my wife.
Dina and I wondered where she went after our little coup here failed.
Failed?
Jump. Failed.
Faye is dead.
So Durlin isn't too keen on helping us. I guess maybe because Faye had a failed coup long ago to help the dwarves free themselves from Odin and the Aesir. It didn't work. I'm guessing this was Tyr's war. I don't really blame him for not helping right away. Do you?
I mean, you can't really blame people for not helping right away. But I'm also of the mindset, like, if you sit back and do nothing, then are you better off? Maybe in the short term, but not in the long run. Like, you're gonna feel the effects of not helping out. I just want to say as well, like, this guy looked super familiar to me.
Yes, he did. And I know exactly why, because he looks like Mr. Smee from Hook, like the 1992 movie with Robin Williams. And when I saw him at first, I just started dying of laughter. So search him up if you can. Mr. Smee was played by Bob Hoskins. Looks and feels exactly like Mr. Smee. His octopus as well, his name is Dinner, which I thought was funny.
So cute. I love the exchange between Dinner and Atreus as well. Because he reminded me of Smee. Derlin, it was just like this whole with dinner, it would just took me back to that movie Hook. And I was like, I was so amazed and like just brought into wow, this is nice and quirky character. And like, I'm loving all of it.
And the setting too looked like it was like a ship or something like that. So, and he had an octopus. So it was pretty funny. I had a good time. Lo and behold, however, Cam, he actually does help us. Something that I was kind of confused about in the game. I guess I wasn't paying attention properly enough, but the fine, or quote unquote fine, that Derlin gave us was actually turned out to be a map to Tyr's location. So he actually knows that Tyr is alive, and that confirms Atreus's beliefs, at least.
Yeah, which is huge, right? Huge for Atreus, probably not for Kratos, because I don't think Kratos is giving us any of the vibes that he wants to be here on this mission, even though he may be like, do you think Kratos is actually a little bit curious of this? Because it can help him, but I'm just getting that vibe as well. Like, he does not care at all about finding Tyr.
I don't think it's not that he doesn't care. I just think that he just wants to run far away from all of this. He's seen it transpire before in Greece and Athens. So I think he just wants to avoid this whole mess. And he's going along with Atreus because he wants to show his belief in his son now. But I think he is very skeptical at everything that's going on. So it's off to the mines beyond the mountains. We take a dwarven train ride. And I got to say again, this is another little thing that they added that I think is really cool. These dwarven train rides in the Svartalfheim mines. Do you agree?
The train mines in the back, yeah. Bring me some Donkey Kong Country vibes. I was like, ooh, are we going to go on these, like, will we be able to control the train? But I just like how it makes sense. They're in a mine. There's going to be like these little trains to help whatever they're gathering in the mine. Yeah. So I like those tidbits as well. We didn't talk about it, but when you're on the boat on your way here, you could actually loot for hack silver, and it reminded me of the mechanic from Assassin's Creed. Whenever you're on boats, if you see a little bit of wreckage, you could just put the boat over it and then just loot for hack silver, which was just a nice, cool addition.
Get some money so that I can cover Kratos' nipples with new armor. That's exactly
oh my gosh, stop.
What I need. Mimir mentions while we're on the dwarven train, Heimdall, the bearer of Gjallarhorn, who is Odin's true believer, and he burned his name into Derlin's head after the rebellion, and that's what Mimir noticed. So I guess I understand now why Derlin is helping us, but also when Mimir name drops a name like Heimdall, I'm guessing that we're going to end up seeing him probably in the future. That's just my guess.
Yeah, and he's probably not going to be Idris Elba. But I just imagine if he shows up and it's just Idris Elba.
That'd be sick. That'd be sick.
But yeah, it's really interesting how they're just name dropping all these characters, and it's like, ooh, it is setting us up for either a huge interaction. But then again, the first game, they were name dropping people as well who we didn't see. Like Thor, I thought we would have saw more in the end of the game rather than that teaser. So maybe we won't see these characters at all, and they're just like nice little references for us fans.
Once we take the first train, we find ourselves in the mist, just all of a sudden, in a mini boss fight with Dreki, this alligator type looking monster. I got a little scared. I didn't expect that to happen right away, but I was pleasantly surprised because you know how much I love boss fights. This was a fun little fight for me. What did you think?
I was very confused on what this creature was supposed to be. Lizard, alligator, fish. The tail. It was the tail. Dragon, like, I don't know. But the electricity attacks were super annoying.
Yeah. Because
I would try to hold my shield to absorb the melee attacks and then just get hit by electrical attack, which would, like, because I just didn't time that well. So timing is everything with these fights, but it's pretty manageable.
I think you hit the nail on the head. Timing is everything on a lot of these fights now, and you have to be more specific. You can't just hack and slash, which I enjoy a little bit. But we get our first light runic attack for your Blades of Chaos, which, thank God, I have been needing some sort of light runic attack or heavy runic attack. I think that's what I've been missing in terms of like making these fights easier. over time, because so far it's been really hard because I don't think we've had special abilities up to this point. So thank you for that. To enter the mines next, we need to hop onto another dwarven train, and this is where the true fun begins on those trains. Our train gets hijacked by Grims, and the brakes get broken. And this is a fun little experience where you have to fight these Grims, and then also like you're hurling down into, you don't even know where we're going at this point.
Yeah, the Grims, man. I hate the Grims. But this was cool because I wasn't expecting it. I thought it'd just be like a little cutscene, but then you have these quick action events in the train where they're trying to like get in, and you have to like press R1 and R2 to try to throw them out, or like kind of just I guess he just bash their heads in. I was like trying to find a better way to say that, but yeah, throw them out or bash their heads in. Perfectly worded, Nick. And also, like, they put Atreus in this situation. It's kind of like a horror movie where it's like you have the main character that's trying to get out, but it doesn't work. And for this one, the gear doesn't work, the brakes or whatever doesn't work to stop the train. So you have Atreus just like panicking. And I'm like, it would have really been great to have your arrows just like, stab him a little bit, Atreus. Like, come on, help out.
Or even like attach a rope to your arrow and then loose it somewhere, and then it goes, and then it attaches. Some sort of cool cutscene there. But, they just fall to their deaths, but they're gods, so they don't really die. So they're okay. After solving some more puzzles, you can use your blades to move objects in a crane. You can also climb with your blades, which is really cool. We enter the mine after Sindri gives us a new light source while ours is broken. And fairly close to when we get into the mine right away, we have another mini boss fight with Berksa, which is like, it looks like a giant Grim that also spits poison. So that's super fun. I had to Spartan Rage here because this boss to me was pretty tough.
Yeah, Berksa is no joke. Spartan Rage, very important. Dodging and trying to absorb as much of their attack as possible. So then your shield kind of does the wah 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 thing, and then
yes, say it again.
Back at them.
The wah 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 wah.
Yeah,
like the deflection thing. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I love that it has a sound effect for you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
After that, we get into a boat and get inside this trail, which is, I don't know, looks like Splash Mountain or the Lazy River or something like that. That's what it reminded me of. A little nice, comfortable boat ride. Atreus, I guess, has some serious conversations because he's feeling comfortable about the Lazy River. Cam, I hate to bring this up, but we're going to bring up the theme of trust, okay? And Atreus... Is he foolish for wanting to trust Tyr, even though, one, he's never even met him before? Well, we don't really know if he actually is truly alive, but if he is, he's been imprisoned for thousands of years, maybe hundreds. I don't know how long he's been imprisoned. You don't know what to expect if you do release him. Yeah. How can he just so willingly trust Tyr based on the stories that we've heard of him before?
Yeah, I mean, he's the god of war. I wouldn't go and be like, I trust Kratos, because... although Kratos is very, we play as the protagonist, Kratos. Looking outside of that, he's very scary, and he does have his own interest in mind, and he wants to, not get involved with things. And if you piss him off too much by prying and trying to make him do that, he's going to lash out on you. I feel like Tyr, also being a god of war, even though he did amazing things for the giants, he had that relationship with him. Like, this is going to be Kratos and Atreus coming up to this god of war with no prior relationships to him. I don't think he's going to react well. And that's kind of what I'm anticipating. Like, when I was here, I was like, I feel like we may have to fight Tyr if we find him. That was just sitting with me. I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to take up a god of war? There's a big battle coming up, because I really do feel like this is leading into a fight with Tyr.
I agree. It was either for me that or the kind of expectation reality thing where we see the expectation of what we think Tyr is, and the reality is he's not that. So, and then Atreus is crushed or something like that. Like, that's where I see it going, but we'll see what happens. More puzzles now. This time we get this new puzzle where there's a bunch of wooden waterways high above us in the mine, and we have to freeze certain sections of these wooden waterways in order for the water to trickle down and to use the water wheel properly to unlock new areas. I thought this was really cool as well. Once you make your way through some similar puzzles and fight some more tedious enemies, Atreus hears something in the next room. And so that's when you approach. But no, it's not Tyr. I thought it was. I was prepared myself for Tyr.
I was like, oh, shoot.
But it wasn't. It was the Hateful, another boss. It was this fire enemy that was, once again, super tough.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. I said it in the first one. I hate the Hateful. Like,
Yes.
I hate. There's a reason why their name is the Hateful. They are so tough to beat. And I don't know if this is just me being like, I don't know, it's too tough for me, but I die a bunch of time every time when I come into contact with these guys.
I have as well. The one thing I hate about them is that they run at you full force. And then you like are trying to like run away or dodge, and they just like hack and slash you a few times. I don't think I died in this one the first time, but it was pretty difficult.
Oh man, I died.
Maybe I did, but I don't remember, and I'm just trying to be brave. But
You blocked it out of your memory?
Yeah, probably.
You're like, oh, no interactions with them.
No. But yeah, it kind of took me through a loop because, I thought it was Tyr, but it was actually another mini boss fight, which, again, Cam, we're here. 3 mini boss fights in this mine. I'm having a field day. This is amazing. This is exactly what we were lacking in the last game. This is actually also the start of a side quest, Born from Fire, where you have to fight a handful of these Hateful around the realm. So that's going to be a little fun. After some more freezing puzzles, we finally get to the main door of the mine that Atreus has been leading us to. The door is barred, so you know something is up and there's going to be something behind it. And we have the tools to open it with our new sonic arrows. And once we open... No, not a cutscene, which again I thought and prepared, but it's actually the Heinherjar who are protecting what's inside, and we have to fight a bunch of these undead warriors. So that's fun. Once they're out of the way, we use Kratos' godly strength to open the door.
This is the god of war.
Those blades. I know you. God Killer. Have you come for me now?
Only to free you.
Stay away. Brother, let me try. Tyr. Look, you know me, don't you?
You killed Mimir!
No.
Yeah, we brought him right back.
You stay away from me, you monsters!
Stop! We need him!
Wow. I can't believe it won because we actually found Tyr. I'm not going to lie, I thought this was a smoke screen and Odin was going to come after us. That's exactly what I thought it was, but it was actually Tyr in his flesh. I was ready for this all-out serious emotional cutscene, and I couldn't stop laughing at how it ended there, where he's scared of them because Mimir is just ahead.
Yeah, I mean, but I love how the game does this because, like, we were both anticipating a fight maybe with Tyr, maybe another aggressive personality similar to Kratos. And, like, instead we find this more broken down god who is scared of everything around him, including the talking head of Mimir, which I love that take on Tyr because they built him up to be this, like, warrior. And it's like, who is this guy that we just found? And keeping in mind that he's been in Odin's grasp for so long, to say that would even break down a god just shows how powerful Odin is.
That's a great point. I didn't even think about that, but yeah, he's a shell of himself basically. Because again, who knows how long he's been there? But I guess because he's a peaceful god, he made I don't know they definitely subverted our expectations, whatever they were, which I love.
Yeah,
So we have to go after him and fight off some more Einherjar, and there's a lot of them that you have to fight. But once you get through them all and catch up to Atreus...
This is my father. We help people.
I don't belong out here, please. It's worse when he's angry.
Father!
Are you not a soldier? Are you not a leader of men? Master yourself! My son brought us to this place. For you! Look at him!
You? Why? You don't know me.
I know what you stood for. You helped the giants. We're returning the favor.
We?
We are leaving. Are you coming with us?
So Kratos seemingly snaps Tyr into reality finally, but you can tell how much of a shell of himself he is. But he makes a great point there where he says, you don't know me. And then, Atreus says, well, we know what you stood for, but that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, exactly. He's a different god now. Like, what he stood for could be definitely changed when you're, again, put in these harsh situations for so many years and thought to be dead, where you feel like there is no hope. Actually, coming out of this scene, when they start to kind of walk away, he hears Mimir speaking again, and he says, so everyone else could hear him, right? Like, he is so... like, he probably had so many delusions while he was trapped with Odin that this, like, I think we're clearly seeing someone who's in shock right now, who lost all hope, never thought that they would be saved, and still can't grasp that there's actually people here to save him. Like, he's still trying to be grounded in the reality of things right now.
Yes, but also, like, how can you trust these guys? Like, who are these people? You know what I mean?
But I don't even think he's thinking all of that right now. The fact that he ran off thinking like Mimir was a talking head, like, I think he's still snapping out of the fact that, oh, this is actually happening. He's still caught up in that shock. Because I would have had 21 questioned Kratos and Atreus if I was Tyr right now. Be like, wait, so you are... who told you to find me? Like, there's you don't hear any of those questions yet. So I still feel like we're at this point, he's going through that shock.
I pictured Tyr with his long hair, like putting his finger in his hair, asking 21 questions. Like, so who are you guys?
Who are you? What was your childhood like? Yeah.
He's also one tall mother effer. There's that scene where, like, he stands up to
huge.
Kratos and he is humongo.
Yeah, he is huge. And we saw that in the advertisement for the game as well. We knew we would see Tyr, but it's very powering that, like, this guy, like, we think Kratos is big and bad, and this god of war who was taller than Kratos and can, like, eat soup from his head, like, no problem, is just so frail and broken inside.
Yeah.
And if they were to go into a fight right now head to head, Kratos would win. If Tyr was the way he was, I don't know. Like, I don't know who would win.
Yeah, no boss fight, like you said. There was no chance that Tyr could fight at this point. We fill Tyr into everything that has gone on, who Kratos is, that Atreus is his son, but also a giant, and that Ragnarok is coming, Baldur is dead, and a lot more. That's a lot of information for one god to handle, and that's why he says...
Before we go any further, the truth. What is it you want from me? You speak of Ragnarok. Is it a god of war you came to find? Is that the Tyr you need?
Atreus.
Forgive me. I am grateful for my freedom. But if you want me to follow you to war, or worse yet, lead you to it, then kill me now. My fight is gone. Damage is done.
No one's killing you, brother.
Better that than to live to see Ragnarok.
So there's a very deep conversation that goes on here from Tyr, who is, again, this is a very honest answer from him, where He has no fight left in him. If you're seeking a war, it's not what I want. Even though Atreus like pleads with him and says like, we need you, we just want answers, and Kratos says that we don't want to fight a war, it seems like all of that, it still points to that anyway. If they want Tyr, like something is going to happen, but he needs to, you know, Tyr is just like, he's trying to shut it down right away. He's like, this is not who I am anymore. I am not this person. You need to understand that. I don't think they do really.
I don't think they do. Well, I think Kratos more so does rather than Atreus, because Kratos kind of, after the onslaught he brought to Olympus, he kind of went through that change as well, becoming a family man, married man, right? Like a very different Kratos than he was in the previous games before 2018's God of War. So I think he more understands, and maybe him and Tyr have more in common with that understanding. Whereas Atreus, because he's so naive and still kind of like going through, you know, as a teenager, you could sometimes be a little selfish. He's only seeing it from his lens of wanting to find information. Tyr kind of, and holding Tyr up on this pedestal of being kind of like this last hope angle to kind of solve everything and kind of help him find his identity and come into his own. So I think for Atreus, it's kind of harder to accept what Tyr is saying, and we're probably going to get pushback from Atreus because he won't want to accept everything Tyr has to say.
Yeah.
I'm more interested on what made Tyr, like, was it just being the imprisoned, or was there a moment that we find out Tyr was a part of where and maybe Odin twisted his arm to be a part of it, that he like made him change his mind, because he didn't know about the giants being dead either. So I thought maybe it could be that, like, when he found out, because he works so closely with the giants, when he found out that the giants were dead, like that kind of changed his perspective. But we are the ones who actually tell him the giants are dead. So it's not that. So I feel like there must have been like that tipping point maybe outside of his imprisonment, because also as a warrior, you would be prepared to be taken in as a prisoner. So I wonder if there's just something else there.
I think my guess would be because of the failed rebellion in which he led with the giants. That's kind of like haunting him, because he knows if you lose against Odin, you probably lose more than you bargained for.
Yeah, but you lose more than you bargained for, but I would think as a god of war, you would still keep pushing. And the giants didn't die, from our understanding, because of that rebellion. To at least Tyr's knowledge, right? Like Tyr, they were alive after he lost that rebellion. So I don't know. I just feel like there had to be more at stake for him than just a lost battle.
But he was a peaceful god too, right? So he probably went into that battle thinking, you know, calculating that they could actually do it, and then they didn't. So then he's just like a shell of himself because he's like distraught. And then that gave Odin, even though he didn't know, but it gave Odin the opportunity to kill all the giants after that failed rebellion.
Yeah.
Right? So I don't know. Maybe that's weighing on his mind, regardless of he knew the giants were dead or not, that he kind of failed everyone. And so he's like, I'm not going to fight anymore because I lost, and I've lost everything.
Yeah.
So there's no point. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe we'll find out more, because we learn about Tyr so early. They're probably going to figure out more about his identity moving forward. Once we've avoided more Einherjar onslaught, we take Tyr to Sindri's house so everyone can finally have a good night's sleep.
I just wish Atreus were not so restless. I care only for his safety.
I know, brother. But holding him too tight won't keep him out of danger. The lad's determined to make a few mistakes of his own. And I hate to say it, I think Tyr might be one of them. I've never seen a man broken so completely.
His pain is fresh. You expect too much.
Aye, perhaps. Pity Freya still wants to kill you. That's an ally we could use.
That is not an option.
No, I don't suppose it is.
Trouble sleeping. Ah! Shh! You cannot sneak up on me like that. There's something I have to do in Midgard.
What? Without me? I thought we were partners.
We are. Just wasn't sure you'd want to join me. I'm visiting an old friend.
Oh, I see. Or possibly not doing that, taking into account she's determined to murder you.
So Kratos wants to protect his son and doesn't like where all of this is heading, which makes sense. Again, we say that Mimir actually confirms that the Tyr is a shell of himself, but Freya would be a good ally to have. And as a teenager who's looking for mischief, of course, Atreus overhears the conversation and wants to head to Midgard to talk to Freya because, well, Kratos and Mimir said it'd be good to have Freya on her side. So I guess he wants to stop Freya from killing Kratos. I love the idea, Atreus, but that's not going to work, and you're just probably going to make things worse because you're a dumb teenager.
Oh, this got me so irritated. I'm like, oh, goodness, no, Freya. You don't want to go down that path again, Atreus. Like, he is going to get into danger. We're going to have to bail him out as Kratos.
Uh-huh.
And it's probably going to end up in a lot of deaths on my part because it's going to be a hard battle. That's exactly what comes to my mind right now. But also, I was wondering with this part, like when I saw him sneaking out and he first said, oh, he has to do something in Midgard, I was like, wait, is this a part of his like conversation that he had on the side with Odin? Like, is this now Atreus's other angle? And coming back to trust, I don't know if I trust Atreus.
Stop it.
Quite frankly,
Okay, but that's a different kind of trust. Like when we always talk about trust, it's about not trusting a character and their intentions. I think with Atreus, we know his intentions, even though if they're good or bad.
Do we?
But he's trying. I think so. He's not gonna. He's gonna murder somebody.
I think he would be willing to do anything to help his father, which, I mean, everyone could respect, right? It's helping family. Yeah. And because he is, he can be a bit hasty because he's a teenager, right? And he doesn't have the full wisdom of an adult. I think he will be led down a different path. Like, I think he would be more willing to go along with something Odin wants if he truthfully believes it would help him and his father out. So yeah, he could have good intentions, but his actions, I don't trust him. I don't. I
mean, you make a good point only because in the first chapter we saw him freak out about Fenrir's death and then turn into a bear and kill another bear and then do a bunch of things. So that is possibly something that's stirring in my head in terms of what the next chapter is going to fold down to, where again we have to save his ass because he just has his teen angst and he turns into some sort of animal and something bad happens. But we will see, because that's it for chapter 2, and chapter 3 looks to be, I guess, an Atreus adventure. So I'm excited to see what that has to unfold, because I don't think we've ever played as Atreus, so let's see what happens. But after the break, we're going to talk more about what we just saw in Chapter 2, and let's see this relationship between Kratos and Atreus and see how it unfolds after the break.
I can't help but feel like you're angry with me or something. Ever since we got to Svartalfheim, you've been critical of my every move. If you don't think I can lead us, just say so.
It is not your competence that is in question.
Okay, but what does that mean?
Consider your intent.
So I think this is something I wanted to highlight. A huge line that Kratos says is consider your intent. He's not afraid of what Atreus is trying to do, but he is, I guess, what is Atreus' intent in all of this? What is he trying to figure out? Is he trying to rescue Tyr? But again, something we've talked about before, is he just trying to get answers from him so that he can figure out how to deal with Ragnarok and go to war and all this stuff? I think a lot of what Atreus wants to do isn't necessarily things that he can do, and it might get him a lot of trouble.
Exactly, yeah. And Kratos bringing the words of the wise. Even there's a moment too when I guess Atreus is back talking Kratos, and then Kratos doesn't say watch. Well, he does say watch your mouth with me, and he says like you could disagree, but you will never talk to me like that. I was like, damn, the parenting on Kratos, What a just huge leap I feel like from the last God of War. But yeah, he's very much focused on helping Atreus understand what is going on. And I think, we saw in the first chapter how Mimir is also that voice of reason. So this may be like counseling that Kratos is getting from Mimir on how to handle these conversations, because as Mimir said in the first chapter, is you won't be able to stop him. It'll just like kind of push his curiosity even further with trying to get answers around who he is, because he's just a teenager, right? So there's a lot of words of the wise happening here, and I think we are going to see the sometimes uphill and then like the rough roads, I think, Atreus going forward to learn these lessons.
Yeah, I think this is actually what's going to cause the main friction in this game with Kratos and Atreus, which is, Atreus kind of trying to put himself out there too much and Kratos trying to rein him in. And it's going to cause conflict because, again, he's a teenager. He's curious. He wants to find a lot of these answers. Mimir keeps telling Kratos, like, hey, man, like, you gotta watch Atreus. Like, Atreus is going to make mistakes, but he has to learn from these things. Like, Mimir's really trying to be like a wise parenting role as well, which I find funny. But it seems like Atreus also is too focused on this prophecy with Odin and Ragnarok and everything like that. And we see it time and time again with prophecies. Is like, if you try to chase that prophecy, it will come true.
Yeah, it will. But do you think, like, because knowing your son may be your downfall, do you think that Kratos also has this in the back of his mind?
Yes, because I think little mentions that we hear here and there, Kratos is just trying to prepare Atreus for life without him. I think we're going to see this more and more often as the game goes by, which is, I think he thinks he's going to die, and he needs to prepare Atreus for being on his own, and he still thinks he's not ready yet. So I think this is why Kratos gets a little frustrated. I guess that's it in terms of like analyzing things, but things that you might have missed in this chapter. We get our first Nornir chests, which is awesome. We can unlock the apples and the horns for rages, which is really cool. And you get to also start collecting the ravens, as we talked about before, like in the last game, which I always find fun. And then loot lizards, which is something new. Have you done a few encounters of these where these lizards can kind of bury themselves in the ground if you're close by, but you have to attack them from far away?
You have to like attack them from behind.
When they're, behind,
or from far away. Yeah. Actually, I don't think far away works. It's only behind.
It's when they're not looking, right? Yeah.
Yeah, when they're not looking. But yeah, it's really cool, like how they have these little tidbits, because at first when I came across them, I think on your way, when you're on the boat, like they're on one of the smaller islands. And like, I was actually like, why does this thing keep hiding? I was going away. I was trying to get Atreus to hit it with the arrows. It wasn't working. So there's these enemies that like kind of pop up in the game where you have to kind of just put a little more thought into, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, you have to like find if either unlock like maybe a puzzle or like something to get over to some area. It's not so simple to get these loot lizards, which is really cool. There's also some new features in this game, which is using the Chaos Blades to hook onto things. You can move them. You can also climb up over or on top of things as well with your Chaos Blade. The Frost Axe we talked about, freezing water. I like these new touches that they've used. It's making a lot of the gameplay a lot more easier. Not that I'm saying in the last game, like it still was pretty smooth, but this is even more smoother. Like I enjoy like getting to climb up rocks with your Chaos Blades. Like I feel like the maneuvering is what we should have seen before. I really like it.
Yeah. They did a really good job in like how you traverse in this world and the maneuvering of it. I do kind of want to see a little bit more, because we're so in the, like, it's just the beginning of the game, right? So I feel like these are just like the beginnings of maybe building out something that's a little bit better. So I'm just looking forward to like see how that will change, especially as we gain new abilities.
It's definitely more fleshed out. You can tell by even the environment that you can use more of the environment. You can lift stones, throw at enemies, throw tree roots, which is really cool. I do like, again, that there's more boss fights. They're tougher, and of course, more puzzles make you think more, even though I hate puzzles, but I like puzzles in this game as well. You can find your first Carvassier poem, and you can also unlock, like I said earlier, some side quests before you meet up with Durlin, and I think you can complete them before you get there, or at least flag them if you want to. And one last point I had was that the mines that we went into were beautiful. Just every landscape here in this game is just incredible.
And different. Like when you're in the mines, it's different than when you're in Niðavellir, or when you're in like the dwarves town.
Mm-hmm.
They really try to make it feel a little different, but also familiar because they're in the same environments. But the mines were really breathtaking, especially with all the waterfalls and how you have to use like their different contraptions, like the wheels and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's really cool. Like everything just, I don't know. It's just, I'm in love with this game already, even though we're 2 chapters in. Is there anything else you want to mention before we wrap up this episode?
Honestly, I don't trust Atreus and his actions. It's going to get us in trouble, but I'll leave it at that.
All right. I guess trust is, again, a main theme in games that we play here. We're just not trusting people. But to not trust a teenager, I guess makes a lot of sense. But that is it. And next week, Chapter 3, we get some Atreus action. I'm looking forward to that on AutoSave. AutoSave is produced and hosted by Camille Salazar-Hadaway and myself, Nick Andrade. The show is also produced by Dylan Wilson. Gameplay and additional elements provided by Chris Seitzer. Technical production by Greg Fillion. Executive producer, Clayton Hansler. You can follow the show at Autosave Podcast on Twitter and Autosave Pod on Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch. You can subscribe to the show wherever you're listening to it right now, and if it happens to be Apple Podcasts, kindly leave us a rating and review, but only if it's good. Autosave is a Soda original, hosted on the Soda Podcast Network.